In this demonstration, I'm going to show how easy it is to compromise up to 500,000 records in this example anyway. It could be a lot more. And actually email personally identifiable information outside of a network where you have a disgruntled user who has found access to the data. So first of all, many environments will have configuration files with information on how to connect to database servers or other types of files that have actual usernames and passwords lying around. So a lot of times, even if the person doesn't have access, they may be able to get access. So in this case, there's a configuration file, which is a sample of a real file that I've seen in a real environment. And if I just click on this, you'll see it actually shows the database server name and the database and the user login and the password to get to production data here. Well, what I can do with this is go into Excel now. I don't even need to have a development tool, and armed with that kind of information, I can use this capability in Excel that's for getting data from external source. So in here I can go in and specify that information, specify that username and password, and connect to that database. You might think this is really, this is unrealistic, but I've seen the capability to do this quite a bit actually, with developers leaving files laying around and network shares not really being properly secured. You would be surprised. And I'll go ahead and select the database here and in a view called demographics. Now this data that you're going to see come across, and it will come across very quickly, is just made up data. There isn't any real data here. The names might look realistic, but the addresses are not those people's real addresses, and the social security numbers and birth dates are all made up. So you can see I've already pulled across all this data, and just to get an idea how much data we're talking about here, we're actually talking about nearly 500,000 records here. In my data set, I have 435,000 or 475,000 records, it looks like. So there's quite a bit of data here that's been pulled across. Now, now that I've got this data in Excel, what can I do with it? Well, first of all, I can make it a lot smaller. So instead of saving it as an Excel file, I can save it as a comma delimited file, which is much smaller. So that will save it in a text file, and I'll go ahead and just do that now. And again, you can see this happens very quickly. Even though there's almost 500,000 records, it really doesn't take much space to store that data. So if I look at my file now, you can see I've actually stored it. It's only 40 megabytes. Most email systems allow 10 or even 20 megabyte files to email. So my next task is to make this small enough to email, and for that I can go ahead and use a compression program like WinZip. So I'll go ahead and just use an evaluation version of that, and then I'll make sure I encrypt it with the smallest possible size, or compress it, and I'll also encrypt it, which means that nobody will be able to see what's in that without having a password that I'll assign. So I'll go ahead and put in a password here. So at this point now I've created a file that is encrypted and compressed with personally identifiable information, social security numbers, birth dates, names, addresses, enough to do identity theft. And now that I have this file, I can go into email, and you can see I've done this test a few times, and I'll go ahead and just email it to another email address. And attach that file. All right, so you might think this is unrealistic. I mean, what company is going to allow somebody to just go and take all this data and email it? Well, first of all, a lot of companies do allow encrypted email because they may need a method to communicate with members, like in a healthcare organization, that might contain personally identifiable information. Second of all, since this is encrypted, the administrator here has no way of telling what's in that actual file. So if the organization allows sending any kind of a file like this, that basically they have no way of looking to see what's in the file. And in fact, some organizations have their own encryption, which still is supposed to prevent administrators from seeing the contents of the file. The idea is that, especially in healthcare, a member record, anybody who looks at that needs to be recorded as far as the fact that they looked at, which I often don't see happen, but that's another issue. Now, if I go ahead and play the role of the bad guy now and go into my email over here, I'll go ahead and just pull up some webmail here. And you can see I've got an email here. And so I'll go ahead and open that email and download that file. And you see it downloads very quickly. Go and look at my downloads directory here. And now I can open that. And again, by having the password here, I should be able to specify what I need to look at what's in the file. And now I can take that file and I'll go ahead and extract it. Or actually I can, well, let's just go ahead and extract it out. And just for the sake of speed, I'll go ahead and open this with Notepad once it's done. And you can see there's the name and a birth date, a social security number, an address, all in plain text right here in another person's email account. So this basically shows how in less than 7 minutes personally identifiable information can be compromised if there isn't the right security constraints in place.